Welcome to the Midweek message. We're taking some lessons from the book of Ruth, and I'm reading in Ruth chapter 3, verses 7 through 11 from the Legacy Standard Bible. Ruth 3, verse 7. And Boaz ate and drank, and his heart was merry, and he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain, and she came secretly and uncovered his feet and lay down. Then it happened in the middle of the night that the man was startled and bent forward, and behold, a woman was lying at his feet. And he said, Who are you? And she answered, I am Ruth, your maidservant. So spread your wing over your maidservant, for you are a kinsman redeemer. Then he said, May you be blessed of Yahweh, my daughter. You have shown your last loving kindness to be better than the first, by not going after young men, whether rich or poor or rich. So now, my daughter, do not fear. All that you say I will do for you, for all my people within the gates of the city know that you are a woman of excellence. Ruth is following the admonition, the instruction of her mother-in-law, Naomi, to go to where Boaz is winnowing his grain on a threshing floor, or the area that he's doing it. And she said, when he lies down to sleep, go and lie down at his feet. And what this was essentially was Ruth proposing marriage to Boaz. Now, she has been working with Boaz's servants, and particularly the women, gathering grain and doing this to support herself and her mother-in-law. And so Naomi was pleased that Ruth ended up gathering grain in the field of Boaz, because he was a relative, and God is opening a door of provision for the bereaved women. And so let's look at these verses individually. Verse 7, And Boaz ate and drank, and his heart was merry, and he went to lie down at the end of a heap of grain, and she came secretly, that is Ruth, and uncovered his feet and lay down. So she did what Naomi had instructed her to do, and this essentially was a proposal of marriage. There's a lot of imagery in it. She was covering herself with the covering that Boaz used to cover himself, and yet she was lying at his feet, a position of subservience and supplication. But the nearness in itself was significant, and this was essentially, as I said, a marriage proposal. Verse 8, Then it happened in the middle of the night that the man was startled and bent forward, and behold, a woman was lying at his feet. And so later on in the night, Boaz is restless. He's startled, and maybe he feels that someone is there, or he thinks someone might be there, and he bends and looks, and lo and behold, there's a woman lying at his feet. That's startling enough. Verse 9, And he said, Who are you? Now, he knew Ruth, but it's night, it's dark, and it's an unusual situation. And he said, Who are you? And she answered, I am Ruth, your maidservant. So spread your wing over your maidservant, for you are a kinsman redeemer. A kinsman redeemer was a male relative that had the right and responsibility of helping family in times of need. And the kinsman redeemers pictured in Scripture, the best pictures are of Boaz and of Jesus. And so Ruth says to him, I'm in trouble. Take me under your wing. I'm committing myself to you, and you have the right to do that. You're a kinsman redeemer. Verse 10, Then he said, May you be blessed of Yahweh, my daughter. You have shown your last loving kindness to be better than the first, by not going after young men, whether rich or poor. And so Boaz essentially accepts the proposal, and he says, May God bless you, my daughter. You've shown your last loving kindness to be better than the first. In other words, what you're doing now puts you in even a better light than the good picture, the good opinion that I have of you and that I got at the first, where you showed yourself to be a good worker and not to be flighty and not to be a light person. But this last loving kindness is better because you have not sought to marry a young man for money, or married a young man just because he was young. You gave thought to your future, this proposal, this situation, this ask of yours. You gave thought to it. And there's a lot more to marriage than whether a person's young and good looking or whether a person is older and wealthy. There's a lot more than the superficial involved in family relationships. Verse 11, so now, my daughter, do not fear. All that you say I will do for you, for all my people within the gates of the city know that you are a woman of excellence. And so Boaz says, because of your character, because of what you've shown me, because of your ask, because of your industrious nature, because you are a serious person, now do not be afraid. Everything that you want, I will do for you. Everyone that is in the city knows that you're a woman of excellence. And so she had a good reputation. She had good motives. She was faithful to her family. And God provided for Ruth, and through her, for Naomi. And it's a great example to us of how God leads us even when we may be unaware of his direction.